It's my pleasure to welcome Junhyok Yim, an assistant professor of management at City University of Hong Kong, and Dave Sullivan, an assistant professor in the Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. Jun's and Dave's paper was recently published in Human Resource Management. Title is Motivational Striving, Human Resources Practices and Job Performance, an advancement of the theory of purposeful work behavior. Jun's and David's co-authors were Matthew Cole, Youngshin Kim, and Yujun Sha. Jun and Dave, welcome to the interview with HRM, with me. I have several questions for you, and the first one is, why is your study important? What is the problem that led you to research this?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our research. We are really excited to talk about our research. So our study is important because it addresses a critical need within the strategic HR literature regarding how and why employees respond differently to HR systems. So over the past several decades, researchers have shown that the bundles of HR practices, often regarded as high-performance work systems, are beneficial for enhancing employees' job performance. However, there's also been some growing recognition that these systems do not affect all employees equally, and there were several studies that shown that the positive effects of HR systems is dependent on how employees construe or interpret the HR systems. So the problem we identified here was the lack of nuanced theoretical framework that explains this differential impact on employees' responses to these HR systems. So we wanted to understand these dynamics more effectively, and so we draw from the theory of purposeful work behavior, which proposes that employees' motivational goal strivings are key to explaining how and why employees respond differently to work environments. So specifically, we focused on three fundamental motivations: striving for communion, striving for status, and striving for achievement as key motivational factors that influence how employees construe or interpret congruent HR systems. So in short, our goal of this study was to develop a framework that helps explain how employees with different motivational strivings shape the effects of HR bundles on their job performance.
So what did you find?
So building off of what June just described, our findings focus again on the interaction between the individual employees and these motivational goal strivings and the HR enhancing bundles that we focus on. So again, those focus on communion enhancing HR practices, status enhancing HR practices, and achievement enhancing HR practices. So first, I'll go over quickly the results for each of these and kind of give an overall understanding of what did our research reveal. So from the communion striving perspective, again, communion strivers are those who are motivated by building positive social relationships and connections with others. When these HR enhancing bundles are present in organizations, individuals who are motivated by communion striving perform better. But when these particular HR practices are absent from organizations, they tend to perform worse. And so the important outcome from the communion striving perspective is, again, the absence of these communion enhancing HR bundles is detrimental for employees that are high in communion striving. And so having these particular types of practices, such as opportunities for supportive work environments, collaboration, teamwork, and mutual support and communication styles are important for all employees, but particularly for those high in communion striving. Second, the interaction between employees with status striving and status enhancing HR bundles, we find a similar effect in that these are the individuals who, again, they seek recognition and opportunities for advancement and opportunities to be positively looked upon by others in the organization. Their performance also increases when organizations implement high levels of status enhancing HR practices, such as performance management, practices of recognition and rewards, opportunities for advancement, but overall providing an environment where these employees can have a competitive opportunity to achieve status in the organization is important for elevating their performance. Now, when we shift to the achievement striving aspect, again, achievement striving focuses on individuals who are motivated by personal accomplishment and accomplishing outcomes related to their work. We find a substitutional effect, which wasn't something that we originally theorized, but we found counterintuitive to our underlying theory. And overall, what this means is that either individuals who are high in achievement striving, that they have that self-determination and motivation to accomplish high levels of outcome, or organizations that provide achievement enhancing HR bundles lead to higher levels of performance. And so either having the employee high in that underlying motivation or having an organization that provides the opportunity for that particular level of HR enhancing bundles focused on achievement striving are important for performance. We did not find an effect where it elevated the outcome for performance similar to status, or even to the effect of communion enhancing, where it wasn't present, it was detrimental. So there's a substitutional effect with the achievement striving effect. So overall, these results underscore the importance of what June was saying, in that we recognize that individual employees have nuanced approaches to how they approach their work and ultimately achieve higher levels of performance. But adapting the HR practices to meet the underlying motivational needs of employees is particularly important as organizations continue to look for ways to maximize their performance.
What does that matter theoretically?
So theoretically, our study makes several important contributions, especially to the strategic HR literature. By integrating the theory of purposeful work behavior with the contingency perspective, we contribute to the strategic HR literature by providing a more comprehensive understanding of the relationship between HR systems and individual job performance. So specifically, we suggest and find that employees' motivational strivings are key to understanding how and why employees respond more or less positively to certain congruent HR bundles. And as Dave described, the way each striving interacts with congruent HR bundles are different. Moreover, our research also addresses the recent calls for more nuanced categorizations of HR practices. Previous studies have mostly adopted the traditional ability, motivation, opportunity, or the AMO framework. And so by developing a new typology of HR practices based on the theory of purposeful work behavior, we provide a more novel way to assess and combine HR practices that align more closely with employees' motivational needs. So for example, as Dave just described, we show that for status-driving employees, status enhancing HR bundles that emphasize rewards and recognition are critical. And for employees high in communion enhancing HR bundles that provide teamwork or collaboration are more critical. So in this way, we hope that this theoretical refinement of HR taxonomy can guide future research and practice in this area.
That's great. That actually leads me to my next question. What do your results mean for HR policy or the practice of HR? So what are the implications of your results for practice?
Yeah, thank you for this question. So in these conversations, the one thing that on behalf of June and our other colleagues that we often discuss is not just providing research to advance theoretical knowledge, which is certainly important for the work that we're doing in HR, but also what do these results mean for HR practitioners and policy? And the one thing that June and I, when we talk about this research that we think is really important to understand is that across all HR practices, sometimes people have this belief that if only we can find this one-size-fits-all approach to solving this particular issue and this particular problem is performance, ways to enhance performance, then we have this silver bullet that we can just apply to every organization. And what our research demonstrates is that there is no one-size-fits-all approach that's going to work for every single organization, every single employee. But in fact, we have to adopt and create more bespoke and nuanced approaches to HR practices that meet the needs of our employees. Now, the great news is, across all the findings that we have from this research, is that every employee has these universal motivational strivings, whether that's communion striving, status striving, or achievement striving at some varying levels. And so adopting any of the practices that we highlight or recommend in our research more likely will have a positive effect for organizations, because we did find that these particular outcomes held across a number of different results when we looked at it empirically. But the important aspect to understand from a practical perspective is that we need to understand who our employees are to make sure that the practices that we're implementing meet their underlying motivations and help fulfill their desires, meaningfulness, and purpose at work, which will lead to higher levels of performance. So, for example, with communion striving employees, understanding how much our employees value this particular aspect or motivation is important. So that way we can make sure we are implementing and executing the proper level of communion enhancing HR practices, so that we provide more opportunities for communication, teamwork, supportive work environments, and communication channels that build team activities. And this is particularly important as organizations continue to face challenges with more remote work or aspects of dealing with more virtual work that have come from the pandemic. So understanding that employees value this aspect of communion striving and how our HR practices can help augment the work environment is particularly important for performance. The same thing can be said about status and achievement striving as well. And so understanding, who our employees are and what motivates them is going to be important, whether or not we're providing those opportunities for recognition and reward that meet their needs for status striving. And again, with achievement striving, it's going to be a substitutional effect. So organizations, if they want to understand how providing opportunities for employees to perform better from the achievement achievement enhancing perspective, are going to want to focus on either their employees having that underlying motivation or providing HR practices that can fulfill those particular needs. And so providing opportunities that really emphasize accomplishing outcomes and rewards, focus on recognizing their accomplishments. So in summary, our research highlights the importance of having a tailored approach. Again, there is no one-size-fits-all approach for these HR practices and the underlying motivational needs of employees. But from an HR management perspective, making sure that what we're implementing and putting into practice in our organizations aligns with the underlying needs of our employees is going to be critically important for helping them achieve higher levels of performance, but also helping create work environments that ultimately will lead to more meaningfulness and purpose for the employees, which is an underlying aspect of the theory of purposeful work behavior. And so to summarize our findings for practical purpose, we want to encourage organizations to make sure they know who their employees are, so that way they're spending their resources, their time, their energy, and efforts on the right practices to get the most out of their organizational output.
That's great. I'm pretty sure that practitioners, HR professionals will take this into account. And I would like to thank you again for your time for this interview. It was great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.